Because what have we been taught since we were little kids about being selfish? I mean, I know what I was taught. I come from a good Jewish family, and I was always told to think of myself last, to think of others first, to take care of others. That's what morality means. Morality means the well-being of other people. And if you think about yourself, it should be at the last person you think of. And to the extent that you think about yourself, at best that's amoral, and at worst it's immoral. Share, share, share. You know, that's what the kids are taught in the sandbox. No private property in the sandbox. I was you know, when I talk to parents and they, you know, I tell them the sharing story in the sandbox. All parents tell their kids to share their toys, and I ask them, don't you think your kids get the hypocrisy? If some stranger knocked on your door and asked to use your automobile, your car for the day, to share your car, how many people would let them? One. There's always one. Nobody would. You're not going to let just a stranger drive off in your car. Yet, you're going to ask your kid to share his toys with a stranger every single time. Why? Because we still have an idealized vision of kids. And our ideal is some kind of commune in which we invite everybody to share with all our stuff. And now we as adults, we're too cynical to actually do it, right? Because it doesn't work. So we won't do it with ourselves, but we project idealism onto our kids and ask them to be idealistic communists, even though we won't be that as because that is the ethic that is in our culture. The ethic of our culture is around placing the well-being of others first. Altruism. Altruism doesn't mean being nice, doesn't mean being friendly and polite and being willing to trade. It means being selfless. It means self-sacrifice. Sacrificing oneself for others. It means, the literal translation is otherism. Altruism is otherism. It's an ism around, you know, it's a theory of others, not of yourself. Self is last. Now, in my view, that morality, that idea of what is good and what is moral is incompatible with capitalism. Capitalism is about self. Now, does that mean that the traditional idea of selfishness, that, you know, what are we taught that selfishness is? That it's, you know, it's lying, stealing, cheating, doing whatever it takes. Well, I mean, those of us who are, you know, who actually trade out there in the real world know that lying, stealing, cheating just, at the very minimal, just doesn't work. You don't do well in business by lying, stealing, and cheating. And indeed, I would argue that in general in life, the most anti-selfish thing you could do is lie, steal, or cheat. It hurts you more than it hurts anybody else. It's a disaster. I mean, I'm sure you've all told a lie at some point in your life. It's not a good idea. It messes up, you know, your relationships, it messes up your thinking, it messes up your ability to function in the real world. The real world is the truth. You know, I find, you know, as we get older, I find that it's hard enough for me to remember what actually happened. Never mind if I have to remember what actually happened and the lies I told. You know, one of the ways you make yourself a more efficient thinker is to just focus on facts, just the truth, and leave all the rest aside. That's what being self-interested and selfish really means. Yet, a culture that is driven by altruism, where altruism is the dominant ethic, I think is always looking for the flaw in capitalism. Because those bankers are clearly selfish. We know that. And we can't deny it. And the bankers try to deny it, but nobody believes them. And yet, in our culture, selfishness equals lying, stealing, cheating. So when they do, when one of them lies, steals, and cheats, what happens? We go, see? Told you so. If one of them does it, they all must be crooks. And let's regulate all of them. Which is one of the ways in which we get regulations. Time and time again, Sarbanes-Oxley in the United States. There's this massive regulation of all business that was passed in 2002, I think it was. And it came as a result of Enron. You know, there were some bad guys in Enron who committed fraud. But the extrapolation was, see, told you so. If you leave them alone, this is how selfish people behave. Therefore, we need to control everybody. All businessmen, the innocent businessmen, have to suffer for the sins of a few. But that comes out of this suspicion of anything self-interested. It comes out of this morality that we're all ingrained with. That is part of the fabric of the culture we live in. That is going to be time and time again suspicious of capitalism, suspicious of markets, suspicious of self-interested behavior. And therefore, Ayn Rand argued, I would argue, that if we are to defend free markets, if we are to defend capitalism, we need to acknowledge the nature of capitalism and be willing to defend the morality that underlies it. We need to be proud to be defenders of selfishness properly defined. We need to be proud to defend self-interest properly defined. And for that, we need to reject this notion of altruism and what altruism means. I don't think, well, I know, we cannot win the case for capitalism if we play into the hands of a morality that is in principle opposed to capitalism.